Medical.
Under the new law, it is still illegal to use pot in public, on college campuses, and while driving.
But it's a Monday.
Smoking marijuana all in public. You would think that shit was legal.
Well, marijuana is now a multi-billion-dollar industry. There are people sitting in prison today for marijuana offenses.
Marijuana is not a drug.
A bill to decriminalize marijuana on the federal level was passed by the House Judiciary Committee today on a 24-10 vote.
That's some heavy shit, man.
What kind of joint is this, man?
Medical.
And welcome to Medical Mondays, y'all. This is your host with the most, THC, in his motherfucking bloodstream, BERG. And of course, I got my right-hand man, my compadre, my co-host with me, Ed Rocho.
What up, Doe?
And we got a couple other special invited guests, but before I introduce them, I want to give a big shout out to all of our sponsors.
Who might they be, Bert?
Man, we got Treetop Labs, Honeybee Extractions, Native Made 313, Ghostbuster Farms, Western Tobacco, Michigan Ganja Queen, Valhalla Laboratories, Ypsilanti Oil Company, Michigan Turf Farms, and Label My Motherfucking Bud. Boom. So yeah, huge shout out to all of our sponsors. I want to introduce everybody joining us today. We got Jamie back in the building. We got our boy Luxurious Green in the building. Of course, C Murder is in the building. I can't wait till we get back to slanging that CBD to all the grandmas out there. Huge shout out to Deborah Young for joining us. We got In Touch and Mike Fate's going to be here soon. And of course, Michigan's own Rick motherfucking Thompson's in the building.
Rick Taco Meat Thompson.
I know. Where's your taco meat today, man? Oh, you're still muted. Everybody has to unmute themselves.
Taco meat.
Oh wait, I think I just I I went to.
All right, is this good now? Taco meat's talking. Berg. Help me.
Yo, what's going on? How's it going, guys?
I have such a fucking headache today too, so thank you for making me laugh right off the bat. It helps me heal. Thanks.
Hey, that's
do here, man.
Mondays, you know. They say that laughter is the best medicine. So.
We're kind of like doctors if you think about it.
Can we get an
unlicensed proctologist? Yeah.
Only on Mondays.
Rick, don't you have a llama up there in your room?
No drama, no llama, and no mama either. Thank you. That's why there's no drama, because I got no mama.
Damn.
Shit, man. What do we trying to get into first, bro?
Man, so much is going on. How about big shout out to Chef Anna with the pot, AP with the pot, the whole White Label Sindicato, and everybody that showed up to the Smoke Out Against Injustice this weekend.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
Shout out to everybody.
I want to say I'm a little disappointed. Well, first I'll say I understand. But at the same time, I'm a little disappointed in everybody who said they were going to show up and didn't. I hope it had nothing to do with that statement from Normal that came out. I don't know if you guys are familiar.
Oh, what's the connection there?
Ellis.
Normal came out with a statement and like, man, I gotta be honest, I lost so much respect for Normal off of this. Announcing that the DEA, FBI, ATF, U.S. Marshals, basically all these federal.
Hey, Roach, hold on one second. Is somebody using a Bluetooth speaker? I'm getting an echo. Nobody? I'm not getting an echo for me. Is it just an echo for you, Roach?
No, I hear it too. I'm hearing it.
All right, I'm sorry.
Well, anyways, they announced that
it's on you.
They announced that all these federal branches of the government, especially the DEA and ATF, gotten 14 days of leeway and increased authority as far as it goes with these protests going around nationwide. It's allowing them to step outside of the parameters that they're not supposed to be investigating cannabis related stuff. But they are now for the next 14 days because apparently a lot of federal crimes are happening during these protests. So as long as they're going on, they're giving them, the liberty to monitor and conduct surveillance for later prosecution. Nobody's heard about this?
What's the tie into Normal?
Yeah, I don't understand why you mad at
okay. So Normal put out this statement, letting people know that this was happening and encouraging them to not take cannabis with them to their protest events.
Oh, well, fuck.
So totally telling them, like, basically, yeah, you might not want to show up to this protest.
Why not legally carry cannabis in probably a lot of the locations that protests are happening in? We can all carry it.
I would like to see it in context before I really made any judgments, but I would first think, why not leave it up to the person to figure out what's best for the situation and without any need from the organization to determine whether or not that's okay.
I'm looking at this statement right now. Am I delayed? Can you guys see me? Is it okay?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, you're there.
All right. So let me just read right from the statement, if you don't mind. Okay. So let's clarify for this. Regardless of one's personal sentiments regarding the protest, we can all agree it makes no sense to elevate the power and authority of the DEA, even temporarily, during these uncertain times. Normal will continue to demand an end to marijuana criminalization in the United States and continue to be a critical voice against the DEA and other groups who misuse this prohibition as a pretext to clamp down on civil liberties. I'm not really sure where I'm seeing in this letter from Justin Streekel, Normal political director, where I see what you're referring to, Roach.
Okay, hold on. I'm sending the link, and let me pull it up myself. But it's like right at the very end.
His point, don't give them any fuel to work with negatively with cannabis, just as we're starting to make some progress here, and then utilize it as the basis for being obstructionist to our progress.
Here's the sentence I think we might be thinking about. It says, because we know the DEA is playing a more prominent role in surveilling these activities and taking law enforcement actions, Normal reminds anyone participating in the event to refrain from the possession or use of cannabis while doing so. That sounds to me like what they're saying is the DEA is paying extra close attention to these protests. If you don't want to get snatched up, use some restraint.
It's an extra thing that you can get charged federally for. So you'd be removing a little bit of risk. But
to me, like, maybe I'm wrong, but I really don't see the DEA busting down people for a couple of eighths.
I agree. Far-fetched to me. I mean, it just really is too. In the middle of a riot, they're grabbing people for a couple of joints. That doesn't make any sense.
To me, okay, this is what
no. But I'm just saying, if they can choose to do whatever they want to with that situation, if they are,
you could add it on to.
They have somebody
Yep. It says
or something like that.
They
the
could pull you
DEA
out of
was
the crowd.
It wouldn't be the focus, I wouldn't think, no.
the DEA was granted permission to exert these new expanded police powers nationwide for a period of 14 days. So during this 14-day period, while the DEA has got steroids in their ability to fuck with us, they say be extra careful for 14 days. I think that's a responsible leadership to me.
We all smoke double in the next 14 days.
Exactly. You need to, man. You need to.
And I would say like that's what we kind of got to do is just like overload it.
Yeah.
Like make it where they have to charge like the entire community because
I feel like they were like, oh yeah, don't have any fucking weed protests. We can't go there and expect these people to be violent. You know, like they're not gonna start shit with us. So don't show up. I don't know, man.
I just rather have the DEA not even involved. First of all, it's not their venue, man. There's nothing there that's drug related. Why would their officers even be there, Deb? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. The whole thing just seems so far-fetched. I can't imagine DEA agents running through, crowds of protesters, snatching people for weed. I think maybe it's like Jamie said, they could use it as a pile-on charge later because cops do that all the time. They say, oh, he was in possession of, marijuana, blah, 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 to make it look like you really have all these crimes going on. But I mean, you would think they'd have bigger fish to fry than people with a little bit of weed.
They probably do, but it sucks that they are opportunists at this moment and put themselves in the position where they've got more ability to assert their influence on stuff.
And who was it that gave them this 14-day power anyway? I mean, I thought they were pretty much, the stormtroopers of the Americas.
I think that cops are scared as fuck right now. And I think that they're all faking and they're all pretending like they get this, that like all of a sudden they get this and they're on their knees, and I don't buy any of it. So
no, it's like, oh yeah, they'll bend down on a knee. I'm not talking about Flint, but there was many other cities where, the fucking police captain or commissioner or whatever the fuck you call him, fucking got down on his knees and blah, 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 blah. 10 minutes later, they were fucking gassing people.
They're scared. They're scared. They're funding. They're scared. They're going to lose some of their jobs. Now they're afraid they're in the limelight and that white people are watching what they're doing now. So they're scared. And now they're pretending like they get it. How do you suddenly get it overnight? I don't understand. Tell me.
They asked for it, and I'm looking through this article right now. I'm going to see who granted them this power.
It's bullshit. But I might just or Trump, like I'm the law and order after your ass too.
I mean, I've been to raid responses. I've been raided. We've seen many articles where the DEA is involved in domestic raids. Oftentimes, regular officers are duly deputized, so they're deputized as a state agent and also deputized as a federal agent.
Yeah.
So why would they need this extra authority?
Rick's referring to largely the multi-jurisdictional task forces.
I don't know. I guess, this thought hinges on if they're going to be sharing information or not. But, a lot of dispensaries were hit across the country during these protests. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So maybe they're, and I do know that, like, at least in California, like you have to carry a certain amount of insurance with your business. And if there's property damage, what?
Just in touch.
Yeah, what's up, man?
You gotta like turn your volume down or something because
gotcha
feedback.
All right, sorry. So these cannabis dispensaries operate with insurance, and obviously, if they got their shit kicked in and looted, they got to make an insurance report. And if they're making an insurance report, then they have to make a police report. So, when asked about it, like I guess the two biggest guys, at least with a little bit of fame is like Burner and Be Real, and they were acting like, fuck the dispensary, there's bigger issues at hand and blah, blah, blah. But at the same time, like, I feel like they're going to be working with the police and they're going to be looking to prosecute people who ran up in their shit after this is all said and done.
And it's crazy. It's crazy because, like, can you really, like, federally charge someone for stealing some federally illegal substance?
Layer of crazy shit, you know?
I don't know, but like, if somebody breaks into a dispensary, like, the dispensary owner can call the cops, right?
They do. They do.
Locally. So that's what I'm saying. If these federal agents,
It remains illegal to break into people's places and steal their shit, you know.
They are selling.
Okay, you know, the police reported that Rolex lost, you know, however many millions worth in the looting, and
I
then
heard
like
they didn't actually, and that was
yeah,
like
Rolex issued a statement and said, no, we didn't. We just got our shit the fuck up out of there.
Of course. Why would you leave expensive shit right in the middle of a big and all the shit's coming? That'd be stupid.
No, but it's to the cops' advantage to make it seem like the damage is worse than it actually is, in order to make it seem like their heavy-handed tactics are more justified than they
And
are.
a lot of people are trying to take the focus off the real issue of the uprising of the protest by trying to focus on these little symptomatic, you know, occurrences.
Yeah, but I mean, you know, cannabis, you know, is like known for being counterculture, but like, you know, it almost isn't anymore. And because of that, you know, being mainstream now, like it's subject to any other business practice. So like when they have problems, they're going to be working with the police. They're going to be looking to prosecute people. Everything that's missing exists somewhere in some database. You know, there's some skew associated with anything that got looted over this weekend or these past few weeks. So I really feel like it's just a matter of time and energy if somebody is going to put forth to track most of the shit that got stolen. And I kind of feel like they can do that with the weed too.
I sure don't know what California's rules are, but here in Michigan, if you bust into a cannabis provisioning center, every damn thing you do is on tape. It's all on video. It's all recorded. It goes off site. I mean, it seems, unless you've got, you know, one of those masks that hides everything,
yeah,
your shit's gonna be viewed. Plus, you've got cameras outside, so we can see what vehicle you drove, what angle you came from. Then they can track you on different. Their ability to really identify things, Roach, is crazy nowadays, isn't it?
Yeah, no, like the difference between like the riots, you know, back in the 90s and now is like totally the freedoms we lost during 9/11. Like all these people are like literally caught. Like they just really, somebody needs to take the time and look at the tapes and scan a few things, and like there's nothing but cases going on out here in America.
Did you see the chick from Grand Rapids that got caught? So white chick from Grand Rapids who was on video kicking out the window of a store, and then later on got busted because she was on social media showing off all the stuff that she had ripped off and saying how wonderful it was. Can you imagine how goddamn stupid you have to be to brag about what you just stole? And by the way, they said she had an extensive criminal history already, so she was wasn't her first.
This is just like rodeo. Right down I-96. Like,
I got to tell you a really quick story that my family bought our first color TV set. This is not even in the 90s. Whoever said the rioting in the 90s. This is back to 1967. We lived on 10 Mile in Greenfield, and the day after the riots, man, trucks were going up and down our streets filled with like TV sets, big console TV sets that they'd stolen from appliance stores. They looted all the appliance stores and shit in the city. We bought our first color TV set, $50 off the back of a truck. But like you guys are saying, there was no cameras then. So people were just out and doing what they were doing, and nobody was recording anything. Now
there was no barcodes.
No, and if you went up on a truck nowadays, if somebody was running up and down 8 Mile on a truck selling shit out the back, I guarantee you they could have stopped it. But everybody on the block bought one.
That's happening too right now. There's people pulling up with trucks from different states and different cities full of products.
Oh, they got all kinds of cookies from where was it, Roach?
Melrose?
Yeah.
In California. No, and I'll say, shout out to Burner and Be Real for the way they answered. Now, how it's all going to play out in the end, I don't know. But they gave great answers. You know, they weren't worried about the stores at all. When people asked them about the store, they used it to talk about the issue. So I applaud them for that.
Remove the merchandise. I would think it's not that hard to clean out a cannabis store and take the stuff home. You know the stuff is down, especially on the second and third day. You already know. So
I did my news segment on Saturday this week, and I covered this exact story talking about the destruction. Marijuana Business Daily did an interview with three different groups. MedMen had a couple of issues in California and then decided to close all of their stores nationwide, even closing stores in places that weren't having any protests because they're such pussies. Then a place in Boston actually had been raided or been looted rather, but they were really interested in serving their customers, so they were open the very next day. And the last one was Burner and Cookies, and they said, look, we understand why people do things. We're not going to worry about it right now. We are going to focus on social justice issues and supporting the reasons why people are out there doing it. We'll clean up this mess afterwards. And it was a really strong statement.
But if told every single one of us here, if we had to pick a place to loot, where are we going to loot? Jamie, if you got to lose one place on the planet, what are you going to loot? The weed store. I mean, come on.
The one thing I wanted to mention about this story is that all three of those guys said that based on camera footage, the people that robbed their stores in every instance were professional thieves who came prepared with the tools of the trade to do the job. These were not looters that just opportunistically decided. These were people that intended to come to these places and break in and do this. So they said it seemed a lot like people just taking opportunities.
You know, at the end of the night, we'll say, like, you know, for lack of a better term, you know, they put all the weed in a vault. All the display and stuff goes in the back. Right. You know, so it's not just like they came and were smashing the cases and taking the shit off of the shelves. You know, it was in a secure back room.
Yeah, you can't walk in safe. A lot of those things are in banks. They're like a bank vault situation. Yep. You can't kick that door in. I think if you burn the building, those vaults would still stand.
The Botanical Company is a former bank, so.
And those things are fire rated to like 2,000 degrees and shit like that. I mean, you can't really do nothing to them.
Burn it down, and the weed will still stand in that vault.
You'd have to hit it with a plane.
Yeah.
So either it's an insurance job, or an inside job, or some kind of job. I feel
low.
A lot of this looting shit.
Yeah.
Not just limited to the cannabis and the dispensaries.
Yep.
A lot of this shit seems like it could have been avoided. Like, I get the destruction of the actual building, but
there's no real defense for it, man. But still, it's symptomatic of all these people being in that position for one reason or another, whether they want to rile things up, or they're opportunists taking advantage of just getting some shit at the moment or whatever it is. But if we solve the underlying issue for the purpose of the uprising in the first place, and those additional symptoms don't come with it.
Did anybody see that video of the NYPD like cutting into a metal door going into a diamond store?
Uh-uh.
Yeah.
What was that about?
I have no idea.
I seen a London cop on a horse like run up and get smacked in the face by a streetlight, knocked his ass right off the horse, like charging.
Shout out to all the people who tore down that fucking statue over
in Dearborn,
Alabama.
No, Alabama. It was like a slave owner dude's some big.
Oh, it was in like Bristol, like UK or something.
Yeah, no, it was over in England. Yep.
Yeah.
They threw it in the fucking ocean.
But they got rid of a statue in like Virginia too, and then in Dearborn.
Dearborn, yeah.
They
still have that statue.
The family took away the statue and moved it to Union City because they were afraid that probably what was going to happen to that one statue.
Yeah.
To be prominent, and then
preemptive strike.
Moved it like corner somewhere, and they said, "Well, we're just."
You got to think.
Who's gonna put it on his grave? out in the middle of nowhere, like down Michigan Avenue, way the hell out there.
Yeah, no, I mean, people are exposing themselves, man.
They are the truth. How many people, I mean, pop up and you just be like, whoa, where did that point of view come from? I've known you for a long time. So yeah, people are this good to beat out your friends and kind of
motherfuckers. I grew up in the hood support Trump. It's like crazy. It's like crazy.
It is.
All right. Well, what did you guys think about the NFL making a formal apology for their behavior and how they acted about the whole taking a knee thing?
I feel the same way as I feel about the cops. I think it's not sincere. How do you just get it overnight? I don't understand. You picked yesterday and today you get it?
Yeah. It seems to me like it's awful special timing for them to make this release, especially when at a time when they're going to try and convince the players to come back to do some kind of a season, where they're going to ask them to take a lesser paycheck because there won't be any fans in the stands. It seems like, you know, they're just kissing some ass in a timely manner. But here's the thing, though. Look all over America. The shit's changing. Shit is getting changed. They're going to dissolve the Minneapolis Police Department. We've got no use of force rules being imposed in places. Some folks are
on the police movement, which is makes sense. Really, it's some people take it incorrectly. It's not like they can't function anymore.
No, because all of a sudden, what 100 million cops appeared out of nowhere in complete riot, perfectly, you know, coordinated riot gear all over the country. Where did all this shit come from?
They pulled them from the Federal Department of Corrections.
Definitely need to demilitarize the police.
Yeah,
there's this overhaul.
They want the police to be like a second army, a domestic army for use whenever they want to control us. Fuck that shit.
Yeah, no,
they
they started doing that shit at 9/11. They started they made an executive order to be able to fucking funnel all their fucking unused military shit, the fucking local police forces, as long as they fucking get those drug busts. Yeah. That's why everybody's fucking going to jail, because it's a whole fucking, it's all about money, man. Whoever gets the most prisoners gets the more fucking tanks. Shit's crazy.
Yeah, no. And like, as somebody who's worked in like entry systems and security, a lot of these police stations, they got a parking lot dedicated to their fucking military toys. And like, they're all cool and they look sweet and they're all polished up. But at the end of the day, those are for the people.
It's ridiculous.
Those are for people. Like, you know,
well,
we're
war on drugs is a war on people.
That they had in LA where they fucking robbed the bank with all the bulletproof shit and they were shooting everybody and they had all that military equipment. You know, that's not like an everyday occurrence. Okay. And like, yeah, there should be somebody there ready to deal with that. But every police station everywhere, like, I don't think so. That shit is for the citizens.
It's ridiculous. It's absolutely ridiculous. I thought we've been fighting it locally here in Ferndale when they were part of that Oakland County task force, had all the weapons and all this. But it was fucking bullshit, you know. And we went in front of the council. What?
Narcotics enforcement team, the task force. Yeah.
You know, in one breath, the chief of police got up and first he thanked the city council for approving $48,000, and they bought new vests and shit with these that were going to protect their officers and yada, yada, yada. And then 20 minutes later, he's up there asking them to approve money for this net operation because net is going to buy them all vests. And I'm like, how many vests can one cop wear? And I got up and asked, I said, how many vests can one fucking cop, or are these people double fucking dipping? He just said, thank you for buying the vest. And now he's asking for vests again. What the fuck? And they ended up turning the money down. But a lot of communities are involved in that, and they're investing tax money into that. And this is what these cops are doing. They're buying fucking tanks and they're buying riot equipment to use against us.
Those SWAT teams and stuff like that were designed originally for when there's a real serious situation, a hostage situation or something like that. But when the combination of being able to take people's shit and make money off of it by force, you know, was kind of married, you know, there you go. There's a use for all that stuff now.
They do. These cops got to be forceful and they got to be armed and they got to be manly because they're pussies. down to
shoot the dog, draw the guns on the kids.
Now that we've made it this far into the conversation, I want to say like that this is where I'm really pissed off and I'm disappointed in the cannabis community and Normal for saying refrain from using cannabis. Is that like, you know, last week on your show, I said, you know, why are we trying to come up with a magic incantation to make people see each other as human? And the truth is that they've already come up with the magic incantation for making people not human. And that's what these laws represented. And that's where they originated to even fucking begin with. All these cannabis laws were to take the humanity away from Black and brown people specifically, and I'm not going all racial here. This is like facts.
It's fact. Yep.
It was to hold back Black and brown people and progressive white people. And it always has been, and it still is now. So if we're trying to overthrow and turn over the bullshit that's been going on in this country, the cannabis community needs to stand up. Like this is, you know, if we want to be legal and looked at and break the stigma, this is how we do it. This is one of the most important things that the police have used historically to hold down Black and brown people. And now they're using it to hold down regular, quote unquote, regular white people. And like,
that's one of the reasons there's a harsh reaction to all this.
People are agreeing with Trump. People are dropping N-bombs everywhere. And the thing that like they don't realize is that they are not part of they are a part of us too. You just don't fucking know it. Like you guys are like, we're all niggers in their eyes. And the police are there to keep us in line. So if you have a cannabis business or a cannabis company or a cannabis consumer, whether it's medicinal or not, and you're not standing up against this brutality, and I'm not asking you to condone violence and condone looting, because no sensible person does. But this is it. This is why you can't grow your plants. This is why you got white men sitting in jail for 20 some years over joints, because you fell into this category that Black and brown people have been in forever.
Right. Yeah, true. That's 100% right.
Like, what the fuck? Open your eyes. Let's go. Normal. Shut the fuck up telling people to refrain from using cannabis. Like Deb said, smoke double. Smoke double.
Yeah, definitely.
Shout out Chef Anna walking around with his plant, showing it to the state troopers. They don't want that smoke. And what the fuck?
What did the motherfuckers actually held it for him? You see that? Somebody
yeah, that was real cool. So yeah, that's where we actually met. My first time meeting Roach and Germ were the other day, or Berg the other day at the smoke up meetup and everything with Mike Fate here. So it's crazy the synergy when we actually got out there, because you were saying you were a little bit upset that some people said they were gonna pull up and then they didn't, and just a statement and everything. So it's really interesting seeing the dynamics and being one of those people who are always on the ground. Like I protested in Detroit. He protested for maybe 4 or 5 days straight. And like, we felt different. We felt a different energy coming from protesting with people with cannabis compared to protesting with people that had an ulterior motive, had anger, had, you know what I'm saying? Like a chip on their shoulder, trying to prove something. We were proving something with peace and trying to connect and organize. And what came from is like conversations like this, which is amazing. You know what I'm saying? Like that's what you're saying, really making sure that the cannabis community connects and stands up and amplifies our voice now is one of the most important things.
I would go as far to say is, I think people need to give more weight and more credit to the idea of an ally, and understanding that, you know, we need these allies, because essentially an ally is just an oppressor whose, you know, ethics we've hit. You feel me? Like, if we really want things to change, then we have to all work towards it. And that includes every single one of us. That doesn't just mean all of us who are already on the side. That means those of us who don't even understand this standpoint yet.
I'll say
That's a
this
big
though,
thing.
is that
Go
when
ahead,
you're at a protest, they're there specifically to honor George Floyd, to talk about social justice issues in that particular vein and the racist issues. When we
Right.
start talking about our own separate side issue, oftentimes that angers the people that organize the protest because they want the attention focus on their issue, on the thing that they're there all to speak about. And so when we try to co-opt it by saying, cannabis, I can understand where there's some resistance to that. So trying to meld the messages together is a good thing, and trying to utilize both communities to speak as one voice. That's the goal, but it's tricky to do. That's my point.
Well, maybe I think that we need to
And not
change our approach.
necessarily, like, even the Amish stood up, and the Amish are not bringing Amish issues to the forefront, but we're aware that the Amish are there. And that's all I'm saying.
And as you said, people all around the world
we got to
recognize
be
it.
aware that the cannabis community is there, and that we're here for the long run.
Honestly,
I'm disappointed to see that more
as far as it being even just by nature, the peace plan, the one thing that brings community together, brings more people together to talk about how they really feel. Like I was walking down the street and I wasn't even smoking yet. I smelled loud. People actually were smoking down the street, and it felt good to be a part of that. We had people smoking, walking down the street, protesting, and met new people that way. Like that to me, instead of holding rocks, we all had a blunt, and that's more powerful than what I'm saying, seeing a bunch of people that are angry. And yes, we were there for the same reason.
They don't want. That's what they don't want.
I mean, more than that, I feel like weed is so connected to the idea of police brutality. Like there's so many people who get beaten.
Yeah, we were talking
so bad for that it's not a separate thing.
Yeah. Oh, in New York, kids are getting stop and frisked left and right. They're getting their asses whooped by 4 or 5 cops mob deep just because it's of the times right now, because they're on that type of notion. They've been given those orders that they can be extra brutal. And that to me, as far as the cannabis community stretches and as far as it goes, the more stories we hear about that, the more times we can stand up, because that's what this George Floyd situation has really taught us, is that our voice really does matter. If we all talk about something enough, something can change.
Yeah, enough people get outraged.
And I want to introduce Shelly Smith is joining us. Welcome, Shelly Smith.
Can y'all hear me?
Reeds and Weeds.
Hello.
Reeds and Weeds. Hello.
Hello.
So is everybody here in Michigan?
We are.
Yeah.
So I have to tell you, so I just had this very unique experience because all this stuff is going on, and I was in Kansas all last week, and I was pretty much I was selling insurance to farmers. I'm just wandering around. It's baling season. Everybody's working their asses off. But I ended up on this farm with this dude, and I'm totally focused on like, this is what I'm doing. And then this dude that I'm talking to, I'm like, oh, how'd you end up way out in the middle of Kansas? And he's like, oh, I used to be a cop in Colorado. And I said, oh, wow, cop in Colorado. And he goes, yeah. And he's sitting there, 2 little girls right beside him. This is like his second life. He's already had a wife, he's retired from the police force, and we're having this nice chat. And then he goes, yeah, I had to get out of law enforcement. My wife wanted me to. And that's when the hippies moved in and made weed legal and ruined my whole beautiful state. And he said this I was like, oh shit, what do I do right now? You know what I mean? Like I'm in like spelling mode.
That's the most awkward position.
It ruined such a beautiful state.
I was like, he's like, that's when the hippies came in and legalized weed and ruined my beautiful state. And I'm just like, I can't go off on this guy right now while he's holding his like adorable 2-year-old daughter, and I'm out in the middle of nowhere and he's a stranger. Surely with guns, because everybody had guns, I was just like, but it reminded me that like, that's what he thinks. That was his experience. He's very relaxed in that assessment of things. And it just reminded me like, oh, this is like there's no way not to know that our country's so divided right now, but I was in an area where it was very not like Ypsilanti and Ann Arbor. It was very not like that. And I would bump up against things while I was there, just in regular conversation, and just be like, oh shit, like I can't believe you said that. I can't believe somebody just said that to me. You know, it was so, I don't know anybody like that around here. And it was but it was this very like calm, like, this is what I feel like. And I realized like, oh, we just straight up don't understand each other as people. You know,
I'm glad that we just met, but realize that experience is what it feels like to be Black every single day.
Yeah.
Oh, I can't believe you just said that. Well, I've had some days. I've gone door to
That
door.
shit's crazy. No, I'm just saying, I resonate with that story. That's amazing.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Thank you for that experience.
Yeah.
First impressions are everything, you know?
Yes. Yes.
And for that to be like, okay, yeah, no, she gets it. Cool. We can talk about it.
Yeah. Well, and I've gone door to door for 20 years on and off. And so I've met people in a whole bunch of different states and everything, but I haven't done it in a different state than Michigan in a long time.
Right.
And I just forgot, like, oh, I'm used to being around kind of progressive.
You remember going door to door.
Who went door to door?
I did political campaigns, and back in the day, I was able to employ him in a couple cities, and they did not like it.
Oh, really?
It's so hard. Yeah, it was hard, and we were for cannabis. Man, then that was for cannabis, and it was and people. Yeah, the response from county to county, city to city is very different here, even in Michigan.
Yeah.
They did not want to sign my son, man.
Right, for sure.
He said I was Black.
Well, people definitely, this kid, this brand new kid in our company, good looking, sharp little white dude, you know, looks very together. And he, you know, got guns pulled on him. He, you know, got pushed out of places. And for him, it was just like, he was just not a confident young man yet, you know, he would just come in and look scared. And so they would feel scared, and then they would be like, get out of my place, you know, but it just reminded me so much, like, this is just this whole area that's not talking about any of the shit I'm talking about ever, you know, this whole area. They're talking about baling hay, and that was it, you know.
I mean, but that's intentional though. You know, like, people are farmed too. The farmers are farmed themselves. And, you know,
the farmers are
farmed themselves. And
I don't know if I understand what you're saying.
So like go ahead.
You know, that culture is like nurtured in that area because it feeds a certain machine. You know, where do you think all the money comes from for a lot of the BS that's about, you know, like these people paying taxes and paying these politicians and lining their pockets. So if they can get a large group of people to feel a certain way in that area, that's how you get red states. You know, the same way, you know, Michigan is a blue state. They farm that. They encourage that. They want that there.
Oh, I see what you're saying. I see what you're saying.
The division of America is necessary and encouraged.
Yeah. I was just thinking they aren't talking about anything. Meaning like their focus is 5 a.m., start baling the hay, end at 10 p.m., eat something, sleep. You know, that was the era I was there in. They were just like, I can't even talk to you.
No, I keep
farm,
saying,
you know.
Everybody wants to talk about politics in a very, you know, humanitarian and loving and caring way. You know, like I say, we keep trying to come up with a way to make people see each other as human. But the thing is, it doesn't have anything to do with that. You know, we have to like incorporate the humanity into the bottom line, or else it's not going to fly. And whenever we come up and we're talking about politics and stuff, it's, you know, we want to do therapy and psychological analysis, and that doesn't have anything to do with the bottom line. So when they're in their meetings and when they're in their squad cars, they're not talking about that in any kind of positive way. They're trying to get paid just like everybody else who has a job in this country. And if you need any more proof, you know, the last week, Trump came on and he didn't make a statement about George Floyd or anything like that. He was talking about the economy and said that old George is smiling down because it's a great day for America and how he's helping the economy. And it was all about fucking money, because it is all about.
Oh my God.
The other day.
Yeah,
that was real wild.
When I say things like we need to have like incentives for the police, you know, bonuses if they don't fuck up their citizens, and that's what's going to make the difference. You know, make bad cops expensive and they will go out of style. But right now, bad cops fund everything that the cops do against us. So to ask us to, you know,
I like that idea.
Get away your biggest earner. Get your biggest earner off the force.
In fact, give them promotions.
Yeah.
If you really know how to treat your people, if you really want to get that paycheck,
honestly,
right.
Straight up though. Straight up.
Yeah, I've been trying to be
So
silent this whole
fucked
time, but yeah.
Half the fucking murderers, they straight up murder people, you know. Get promotions.
Get the promotions and the awards. I remember going to the David Whitney Museum in New York and seeing a full line of awards from cops, well, like from the department to the cops that beat certain people, beat everybody, and everybody's name was a Brown, Johnson, Jefferson, or Jackson, which were black people. So like you got awards and promoted, and there were literally a long line of a bunch of different awards, and it was just it was breathtaking. It was breathtaking.
Did any of y'all hear that NPR story today about the Texas Rangers, the history of the Texas Rangers? It's pretty good. It was on Michigan Radio today. It was about like this guy's investigating like the culture of the Texas Rangers, and I can't remember what it's called. It's called like something Pride and Glory or whatever, and it talks about the way they dress, and like one of the most famous guys was just known for slapping people, just slapping people, and no one ever keeping him in check. Like meaning like he would be standing there and someone would give him like $1.70 change, and he thought it was supposed to be $1.75, and he would just smack him. And that's what he was. You got to listen to the story. It's about like, you know, the Texas Rangers are this kind of like.
Where was this?
It's on Michigan Radio today.
Right.
I mean, the story, the Texas, yeah.
I'm done. I can't do anymore. I'll see you guys later. Have a good show.
All right, man.
Are you done?
Yeah.
See you tomorrow, Rick. Have a good night.
Later.
I'll try to.
Is Rick all right?
Well,
migraine.
Let's also remember, like I said, you know, why the cannabis community should be up in arms in this time is that a lot of these like the slave hunters and the overseers were like became the police in those areas.
Yeah.
So their job never really changed.
Or Army Rangers, whatever they did.
People. They have a duty to protect the law, and that needs to change.
I think that's a big thing. Yeah, the laws are of an older time. We have not updated a lot of laws. Like if you go through the most ridiculous laws in the United States, you can read some stupid shit.
We haven't updated senators in fucking like 20 years.
Right. Oh yeah.
Been in
office.
office. Like how
Congressman,
the fuck?
all that stuff, that was not supposed to be a career. That was supposed to be a civil duty.
Yeah.
And somehow within the reins of power, we lost that, and it turned into let me figure out how many contracts and how much this can better me and my people rather than better the people itself.
Yeah.
Hey, listen at this doozy. This is kind of a tangent, but there was this dude that was applying to sell insurance about a year ago, and I had to ask if he had any felonies, and he goes, yeah, well, I'm trying to get it expunged because it's pretty stupid. And I had been hearing a lot of, it was a great chance to talk to people about like, oh yeah, it's a cannabis charge. Hopefully it'll be expunged. And we would get to talk about it, right? And I'd be calling them all over the country because there was applicants from all over the country. This guy says, no, that wasn't the felony. I rode a horse across the Rio Grande. That was his felony that he can't get off his record. That is a felony in his area, is he rode a horse across the Rio Grande. I was like, you gotta be kidding.
Well, meaning he went over the border, probably.
Yeah, that's what happened. Yeah. He went to Mexico.
Yeah. Well, the thing is do you know what I mean? It was like one way or the other. My point is the law is written if you ride a horse across the Rio Grande. You know what I mean? And it's 2019 when I talked to him. That just seems like the most archaic, Wild West bullshit. It's like, what is that? But yeah, that's what his record is right now. Is he rode a horse across the Rio Grande? So he can't get certain jobs right now because of that horse riding thing. Yeah, that's what happened.
All righty.
End of tangent.
What's going on with Reeds and Weeds?
Yeah, tell us about Reeds and Weeds. You got any?
When is it being shown? Where can people? Yeah. Well,
lots of questions. Well, thanks for having me on. Who is the host? Is it Justin and Mike and Justin, and who's the host?
Just Berg.
No, we're just friends.
Just Berg.
Just Berg.
And El Show.
Oh, Roadshow. Okay. Yeah, Reeds and Weeds. Reeds and Weeds is doing well. We've done lots of shows during the quarantine. The last one we did was about a creepy fairy tale called Six Swans. That was fun, but I got to do it with Jillian Franquelli, who runs the Conversations with Mary Jane podcast in Maryland. She was really cool, and that was last week. And then this week we released Stories with an Old High School Buddy, English teacher, pastor in South Carolina, which was the second pastor that I've had on Reeds and Weeds. And I think that's so cool that like they were, I don't know. I just didn't imagine that pastors would reach out to me and want to be on Reeds and Weeds, but I'm excited about it.
Because they want to get all the potheads money. Duh.
And then they want to, no. One lady's going through cancer treatments, and she's very cannabis friendly. She's a local Ann Arbor pastor, super duper cool, great writer. And then Alan Ruff, my old buddy from Boiling Springs, South Carolina, he sent me a couple of Bible verses that were like cannabis related Bible verses that I will try to pull up quickly.
That they actually acknowledge being?
What?
Do they actually acknowledge it being like cannabis related?
Oh yeah.
There were many translations, and it's widely believed that it got lost in some of the future versions because of the translations. But yes, it was definitely
yeah.
Probably written on hemp paper too. I mean, what did they have back then?
We were talking about that altar that had the cannabis hash,
the resin
residue on it back in Israel. So it's like undeniable at this point.
There was something I read recently about like some ancient culture using like smoking cannabis, just discovered.
We've talked briefly about it in the past about the advanced lost civilizations and stuff. There is a whole separate story about the cocaine mummies, which indicates that there was trade well before we ever thought there was anything going on with cannabis and cocaine and tobacco and shit like that. So
hold on, I'm trying to find this. Basically, I was doing like a little, because I was talking to him about, just old school, super small town, South Carolina. I haven't talked to him in 20 years. He reached out to me and was like, hey, I can't believe you're doing this. I saw that video of you singing. Great to hear your voice, blah, blah, blah. Asked if we can read some of his short stories. I know it's going to be cool because he's a good speaker. He's a pastor. He's a 6th grade teacher. He's good at talking about things. And it was a really fun show. And then he sent me, so now I'm trying to find it. And he was saying like, I don't police people's personal decisions. And then he says, here's why. I had a mullet for a few years in high school. So like, what the fuck do I know? You know, he's basically like, do you remember my redneck mullet ass in, you know, in high school? So then he sent me this. Psalm 104:14. He causeth the grass to grow for the cattle and herb for the service of man. Did you know that was Psalm 104:14? So that's what he sent me after the show. So
Man,
that
I
was,
always thought that
yeah.
burning bush. I always thought that burning bush was some weed.
Yeah, that sounds right. That's a miracle. And then tomorrow we're doing this book called Screaming Beauty. A friend of mine writes like new adult fiction, fantasy, and it's pretty impressive. We know each other through improv, so we've done. Were you on the show that was Pricked? Do you remember that show, Colin?
I don't know. Pricked?
We were trying to organize Scott from Chicago and
Who's
Nathan was
Colin?
there, and
That's C Murder.
that's C Murder.
That's C Murder. C Murder.
I'm sorry.
Oh, you can't see my name on this show? Like,
Get
I'm
it
sorry.
right.
And I think I'm supposed to call you Dr. C Murder. I'm sorry. I'm just forgetting all my
Professor.
manners.
Professor.
Professor Dr. C Murder. No,
Professor Dr. C Murder.
that's what I want to call you.
Man,
C
that's the man
Murder,
right there.
PhD.
I'm sorry. I'm just
Anyway, so tomorrow we're reading another one of Scott's books. I'm really proud of him because these books are getting a lot of traction, and I'm just impressed that somebody that I know can whip out 2 fairly successful novels, you know, that I really like.
Can't hear you.
And so that's what we're doing tomorrow.
Who's that
Can you hear
me?
me?
Oh.
That's what we're doing.
Yeah, no, that sounds
Good stuff.
pretty cool.
I was on the show a couple of times, and we did some really cool.
Go ahead, Jamie. I'm sorry.
No, I was just saying I was on her show a couple of times, and we went over some really cool stuff.
yep, there's a show with me too. I've been on quite a few times, and I've done the boards on Wednesdays for Shelley.
Yes, and everyone is welcome. Like if there's something, here's what we haven't done yet. Like we've done like fiction, nonfiction, scripts, poetry other people wrote, poetry we wrote, you know, current stuff, classics, children's books, you know, we've done all this stuff. We've read scripts out loud. We have not done song lyrics, and we have not done like embarrassing childhood journals. Right? Those are 2 things I would like to do. If anybody has song lyrics that they love to talk about.
If that would be awesome. Like
I would love to do that.
Mike has his most recent album produced here locally in Michigan from 3525 Studios, titled Bloom. It's honestly, it's a great piece of work. We'll correspond with you and see how we can get all the lyrics over, just so that you can, you know, give it some more traction and see if he can come on the show and promote that. That'd be great.
So fun. That'd
I was
be
gonna
so
ask, like, as far as your platform, like, have you, like, is it more for audio and like books, visual, that type of stuff, or like do you cover documentaries, movies? Like, is it a rating platform?
No, I just wanted to smoke weed and talk about books. Like that was my entire.
That's awesome. Okay.
That's it, you know. And then because really I like to have like, let's get into the conversation right away. I don't want to sit around and talk about surface level shit. Usually I want to be like, let's talk. So I realized like it's awkward to ask a group of people like, can we schedule 2 hours like once a month to just have a very intentional conversation, which is what I want to do. But what I want to do, but you know, making it a podcast, it just automatically happens. So if you pick a book, then I can focus on it. If I pick cool people to talk about it with and we smoke weed, it's going to be a great conversation. Scheduled. Like a scheduled great conversation.
Nice.
Which is what I want.
Scheduled great
I like your style, Shirley.
Sure.
That's what I want. So that's what we do. And it's been fun. And I think Jamie would say we've had scheduled great conversations on there about, Colin's been on a bunch of them. So it's really fun. So I'd love for you guys to be on it. I'm sorry, doctor. I'm sorry, doctor, professor.
Gotta give that man his respects.
Okay,
I'm
that's
sorry,
awesome.
Assistant Manager C Murder.
Right. See. That's awesome. I mean, that's in a way, like that's a big part. Where my company, MaryDocumentary.com, aside from like the label for Top Shelf or Die and all my artists, like we are exploring cannabis in a different way. We're taking a visual exploration through the market, multi-markets. Like we've been to Illinois, we've been to Nevada, we've been to we're going to California next month. We've been to Florida. We've completely dove into the Michigan market, obviously. But we're taking a different approach because we want the cannabis community to help us source all of the stuff that should be into the documentary. So we're doing the production backwards in a sense, where we set up a platform that's basically a Facebook or Reddit for the cannabis community. It's called MaryDocumentary.com. And that has a storyboard where we dive into conversations, we dissect books, we go into everything. We really build the cannabis community so that we can see what's interesting enough that everyone would want to see in a cannabis documentary, because all the documentaries. Go ahead.
Have you read Smoke Signals?
No, not yet.
Oh my God, you got to read Smoke Signals, because like it is literally like Jamie and like the people that were on that show, we really went into
Julie
the
Barron.
book. Yeah,
It's
we
great.
really
It's a great
went into
historical, deep historical account of
deep dive
cannabis,
historical
yeah.
of cannabis. Yeah, and
Okay.
about the laws and art and music and history and medicine and cops and AIDS and jazz, and I mean like
What did you say the name of this book is?
Smoke Signals.
Smoke Signals.
And he
By Martin Lee.
by Martin Lee, and we all went into it thinking we knew a lot about cannabis history, and all of us had our eyes opened quite a bit from that. So
That's awesome. Thank you. Yeah, I'll definitely check that out. It's interesting how writers, just talking about writers and authors, writers in cannabis are now like a big thing. You know, it was always shunned. A lot of my friends said that their publicists wouldn't push certain things. Warren Barbaro, who's become a good friend of mine, has explained to me how his books about whiskey and all of that were put on the forefront, and all of his stuff about mocktails and cocktails and cannabis drinks were put on hold for 7+ years. You know, so it's like it's really, really interesting now, the boom in the industry. Now the more people that are writing and giving a voice to cannabis, it's prominent, and we need more of us. That's my whole thing. We need more writers, more people to talk about cannabis and their experience, so we can break more stigma together. Like everyone's on the internet, we can reach more people on the internet. We have to be able to take control of that narrative. The other narrative has already been controlled for too long. The one narrative that's the forefront of communication and exploration right now, we have to take control of that narrative with stuff like this and engaging conversations. All of this stuff is so important.
Mm-hmm. Yep, that's
Smoke
it.
Signal.
So
Okay,
good.
awesome.
Oh,
So good.
I like that.
Sweet.
Okay.
Yeah, no, I'm gonna add that to the list of stuff that we gotta get for Mary. That's awesome.
It's
Thanks.
good.
Thanks for putting that up
Happy
there.
to
man.
revisit. Happy
Appreciate
to
that.
revisit. So if you guys have a couple minutes, I have sort of a controversial question for you. If you're up for it. Okay, so the week that we recorded this Alan Ruff episode, he's my friend, like old friend from small town in South Carolina. I grew up in, kind of a backwards southern town that I didn't know was a backwards southern town. I had a hint that it was a backwards southern town as a little girl, but when I started selling books door to door, when I started, then I was like, wow, okay, I understand a bunch of different things. So, there's some of that, but I haven't seen Alan in 20 years. He's a really good guy, blah, blah. And they hit both of the stories. We read 2 of his short stories. They were both kind of stories about things he learned from his grandma, funny things Southern grandmas say, right? And it was just him writing like as a creative writing exercise, just like, here's some stories about my grandma. And he's a really good writer.
Right. Mm-hmm.
And they were really well-written stories. In fact, I'll post them on the Reads and Weeds page right after this, so you can see them. Okay. So at some point he's talking about like, his grandma was formed by the stock market crash of 1929. She was a little girl. Like, we all know where we were when like the Twin Towers fell, or when, I don't know how old you are, or like even the first day of the pandemic, we're like, I remember that day. Like you remember certain days. Right. So he's talking about that, and he says something like, everybody was poor, you know, black, white, people were poor. And then he moves on, he starts talking about something else, and he talks about his grandmother, and he's talking about like she had a nanny, she had like a mammy. His grandmother was from this area. And then and then basically the part of the story that relates to that is like this mammy like basically protected her from the mean stepmother, like protected his grandmother. So it was like she really liked her, whatever. So then we have this great conversation, and we start talking about sixth graders, and he teaches sixth grade, whatever. We go on. There was another person on the podcast that went off on me immediately following the podcast, saying like he was racist and that was a whitewash thing to say. And I was like, well,
no,
I don't know.
It was the truth.
It was the truth.
Yeah, that's the thing. Is I was like,
hide the history.
Yeah, and I was like, I think he was just saying like a bunch of people were poor. You know, he was just saying like a lot of people were poor. Like that was just the point. Was like it's kind of like during the pandemic, a lot of people suffer. Maybe some people suffer more than others for whatever reason. But my point to her was like, you know what? I'm not going to tell somebody about their own experience. You know, like whatever his grandmother's experience was her experience, and your experience, her story is your experience. I'm not going to tell you you need to suffer more for it or feel bad, or I don't know your experience. She was going,
wouldn't it be more racist if you told him to hide the fact that she had a mammy? Like,
no, it was the so if you go on my, this is just weird because I was like, I think if you really feel the need to say something, just post it on my Facebook. But like, I feel no need. People can decide what they think. Like, I never edit content. I edit sound. Like if something is real distorted, but on my show, I never cut anything out. Like people can say whatever they want, and then the listeners can think whatever they want. That's it, you know? And she was really like, you ask any of your friends that are people of color, and they're going to tell you that people weren't in the same boat in 1929. I'm like, how the fuck would they know exactly what that woman was going through in 1929?
What the
They don't know her story. Yeah. And then she's, and I was so she's like, you keep asking people. I'm like, it's not our story. It's somebody else's story. So anyway, I just wanted to see what you guys thought of that.
See, and here's the thing, as far as him expressing what was happening and like really relaying and telling the story, the difference is whether someone is just relaying the message and it is what it is because that's their culture, they don't know any better, and or they're ignorant to what's actually going on. And people are going to be extra sensitive right now more than anything. But at the end of the day, like you say, I'm not going to censor content. We are going to be traveling and doing all this stuff. I'm not the type to say, oh no, that was too controversial, we shouldn't be talking about it. If this is what we capture, I want to know what other people think about it.
Yeah,
and it's
I
not.
do too.
And if you get upset about it, then okay, that's fine. Please, you don't have to continue this journey with us. That's really how I feel, to be honest with you.
I actually think that we should be more open to having the dialogue in the first place, because I don't feel like anything can really be fixed unless we have a true conversation about it.
Yeah,
that's real.
I have another very important question. Colin, I've never done braids.
See murder.
What do you think? What do you think about? What are we thinking about these braids that I just whipped up right here? I'm just like, look at how long my fucking hair has gotten during quarantine. I've got these. That's all. That was my last question.
I think it looks good with your southern accent.
Really? Hey, everybody! What's up? I'm Shelly. Yeah, that's what I'm gonna do later.
I just want to address what you said there, Shelly. First of all, I want to say what you're doing sounds great. I'm going to definitely check out Reeds and Weeds.
Yeah.
Okay.
Reeds and Weeds.
Also, hair looks great too. Third though, I think that is important to put out there, and I think that might be a part of history that people don't really like to look at and examine, is that right along with Black people in slavery, there was also white people working in the same, like maybe not the same field, but an adjacent field, because, you know, that's where segregation came in. They would let these people feel like they weren't getting a nigger treatment because they were separate, when in fact it was equal, and they felt like they were better. And that's where, you know, or I say that's why we see so much you know, white supremacy, why you see so much white supremacy in like low income white places, is because that's how they felt better about being
in the situation right next to every right.
You know, and I think that that's where we get like a lot of Trump support too, is that same kind of mindset where people don't realize that, you know, it really isn't about race, and it never has been. This is a capitalist society, and I'm not saying that this is great, but if we're gonna like fight this beast and change the system, we got to understand that everything is motivated by money, and every single person here to some degree has put their own personal safety at risk for monetary gains. And if you think other people with more money aren't doing the same thing with your life, you're not in the same America, because it's happening, and it's been happening, and it's going to continue to happen. So,
I mean, also you got
like we shouldn't talk about that or act like it's not the same. In certain situations, it kind of was the same.
And plus, we don't, you know, my dad grew up in a kind of lower part of South Carolina near Myrtle Beach, that kind of area. And they were tobacco farmers. Pretty much everybody in that town, you know, cropped tobacco. That's just what they did. That was like all the families, you know, like the kids, you know, if it wasn't done, they wouldn't go back to school yet kind of town, you know, like if it was harvest season. And so that was just the deal, you know, it's 100 and something degrees, it's 100% humidity, and you're cropping tobacco all day, and that's just the deal in that kind of area. So like whoever was up was working, and they were working if they lived in that area. It wasn't kind of, the area they grew up in wasn't a giant, do you know, everybody was sort of lower middle class, you know, like one of those towns where just everybody's working, and that's sweaty working, you know, big time. So anyway, I appreciate your feedback.
Hold on 1 second. I just want to point out, this is the first time we've ever had a bonfire on Medical Mondays.
Yeah, who is that? Who's that person?
Yeah.
That's me. I'm doing this. It's like a campfire theme. So we're all talking.
Yeah, I know, man. You've been kind of quiet, bro. Like,
I'm gonna get a marshmallow, stick it in there.
Yeah, Roach, I'm just listening, man. Honestly, I'm learning a lot. There's stuff in here that you all are saying stuff I never knew before. So I'd rather listen, and then I can educate myself, and then if I could chime in, I can. But honestly, I'm learning so much right now. There's really nothing I can add, to be honest.
Is that bonfire guy talking?
Yeah,
that's.
Oh, okay.
I was gonna ask, can I talk about something?
Yeah, y'all wouldn't be able to see me if I flipped it around. It's just pitch black, so.
Yeah, no, we can't see you. No, we're just gonna stick with the fire. You kicked it, Mike. You kicked it.
There you go.
That close. I'm back. Your foot's on it. All right, we're back. So, Mike, what did you say you wanted to talk about?
So since I've been noticing a lot of people have been talking a lot more. So I've actually decided that I needed to make a group of people who are dedicated to starting the dialogue and, you know, starting to making these changes. We're called the Enlightenment Coalition, and we've been collecting emails, and like that's half the reason why I've been, you know, making all these marches and doing all these protests. So because I understand that, you know, we're marching, and a voice is so powerful, but we don't have any direction. And if we can all just learn to, you know, start moving and
The same direction.
Yeah, move in the same direction in organization. We can really start to understand these problems. And my friend was saying, the same types of people who do police brutality are the same types of people who go over to Iraq and war and commit war crimes. So we don't need to just attack the problem. We need to attack the root, you know, the mentality of the cause.
The system loves conflict. They don't want us talking. They want us fucking fighting.
And that's why it's so important for the dialogue.
And like, here's the thing, you know, while we're asking the police to look at us as human and treat us right, we got to realize that they're human beings too.
Exactly.
And
Yeah.
you know how they
Yeah.
say, you know, we need to psychologically profile the police. They already are for the lowest common denominator. And they get those guys and they break them the fuck down and they make them base their entire life off of brutality and their ability to commit it. And that needs to change too. But you know what? That is how America makes money. Invading and taking over and spreading democracy across the globe. And they do it.
Democracy.
Right.
They do it with the cops.
Mm-hmm. And from my perspective, it's crazy because yes, the cycle needs to be broken. I think what they are doing in really dismantling some of the police departments is one of the first steps that need to happen, because a lot more cops need to think like civil servants, not civil enforcers.
Yeah.
You know, and like my father was a cop for 22 years in Detroit on the east side. So like, and I grew up in the suburbs. So I was torn. I knew what to do, what not to do, how I could do it, what, like all of that education and upbringing, and being half Mexican, I was a melting pot of what the fuck. And I had to learn every step of the way and educate other people every step of the way. I was one of those kids in the AP class who read the most racist books they could ever put in the Oakland County system and had to explain to everybody like, yo, realize what was happening to this child. Realize what was happening to that person's mother. Realize what that person was actually doing to them. Realize what the lynching actually meant. Realize all of that stuff, because, and I was one of 10% of the kids there that were Black. Only one of me in that class, only one minority in that class. So yeah, I was a teacher's pet. I had to educate all those kids to be like, yo, please wake up to what we're reading right now, because what they're teaching us is what they're trying to translate is our history, and we can hold on to that history and it can be okay. And that's the problem. That's the biggest problem. Our teachings and our history and what we're giving to our people and telling them this is okay, this was right, this was wrong. But because we're giving you this book and you have homework on this book, we're teaching you subjectively that this was something that happens and it's okay to happen again.
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, they're changing fucking the word slave in books.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
What are they saying?
Indentured servants.
And I feel with that, they want it to be like, but what's happening now is not like that. So as long as it's not like that,
it is. Look at the prison system. Look at everything. It is the same thing. And that's the problem. It's just a different mask or sheet or shield. That's the difference. That's the difference.
Yeah, and like, you know, that's how the whole segregation thing started, and why to a certain degree it still exists.
Mm-hmm.
Because everybody's getting like a certain kind of treatment and being a certain type of producer of capital in one form or another.
100%. I mean, the quotas and everything you hear rumors about for police statements and what they have to do and their monthly goals and all that stuff. Just like you said earlier, the more arrests you get, the more money you get at the end of the fiscal quarter. Like, that's literally how it works. The more tickets you're giving out in this quarter to this quarter, the better your pension's going to be at the end of the year. Like, it's not a joke.
yeah, somebody projected that there's this much crime happening in this area. So now we have to bring so many people in. So if you're out there, you're part of the problem already.
Right.
I don't
Which
know.
but that whole equation is then looked at in a scope of where's all the crime happening? Oh, in these cities, for these reasons where these people are. And unfortunately, we're always those people, and minorities are those people. So
Yeah.
it's the lab.
Outside agitators are nothing new in the hood. We know all about it. But Shelly, I see that you did like the zipper motion on your lips. This isn't that kind of show. If you got something you feel you shouldn't say, please say it on this show and speak freely.
Definitely say it.
You're
Please.
amongst friends.
Oh, I think I was probably just chewing on my fingernail. I don't think I did a zipper motion. What would a zipper motion entail? I don't think that's
Like,
me.
you know,
I'm not gonna
touching
talk
that
on
one.
this. Yeah, like I'm not gonna talk about this.
No.
shit. No.
I think it was just generic fidgeting. That's what it was.
We are high.
I am just I've braided my hair. I'm just high and fidgeting.
Well, let me ask you. I don't think we asked you this. What are you smoking on tonight?
Oh, it's like it's a little, I have a little bag that when I'm about finished with something, I throw it in there. So it's like a good little random mix.
Oh, I love those.
There's a little bit of everything in there. It's really
Salad.
nice. And a little salad, a little fresh salad. And it's really like happy, energetic mix right now. So
awesome.
Got a lot of shit done yesterday. Yeah, it's like happy, energetic, kind of clears cobwebs kind of stuff.
Have you been outside in a while, or have you been locked in for quarantine? Because everybody, like, I know I met these guys not too long.
Oh no, I've been out and about more than anyone that you know. Colin knows this.
I'm not sitting down.
No, I stayed in a cabin in Cadillac for a while. I was in Holland, Michigan for a day or two for a friend's birthday party. I went to Sparta, Michigan. I went to Kansas for a week. Sparta. So yeah, I've been, and then I was, trimming weed with a friend for a while, and there was always a little like weed trimming team. So in Michigan, I've had a little tight group of people that's seen each other over and over. A guy I play music with, the trim team, a handful of girlfriends that we had to help move their house. Like a bunch of us had to help move the house. But we had all kind of tightly all been around each other. Just like 3 or 4 families. Just been in my little community. And then I went to Kansas and saw but within 3 counties of Kingman, Kansas, there was no virus at all. Like nobody's fucking talking about the virus because they work 17 hours a day on the farm. Like, do you know what I mean? They're breaking Mustangs. They're like breaking. We got to break this Mustang. Like they're just.
Jeez.
You
We maybe
talk
I asked
to them
if
in a southern accent when you talk to them on the farm.
Well, I was in person. I talk like this. Do I have a southern accent right now?
No. I was just wondering because sometimes you whip it out and it's really funny.
Sometimes I whip it out. I'm probably tired. I'm probably tired when that happens. Or I just talk to my mom.
I don't know. Sometimes when I did door to door, I feel like sometimes I was like a different person in a way. I was like, I'm just petitioner right now, and I'm come
a
off
Russian spy.
Like at the door.
You were asking what they were calling. They were trying to call slaves.
What? What?
That's what
What
they're.
is a captive
They have an
This
actual
cannot be true.
for this shit. Like no bullshit.
African.
Oh my God.
Like for real. Like,
Immigrant. I saw.
Can't make this shit up.
Yeah, they're making that.
Oh my God.
Immigrants, involuntary immigrants.
Involuntary immigrants.
Involuntary immigrants and captive Africans.
And
Man, people are creative.
Yeah, but not all.
I know.
Man,
I know it's
they'll do
impressive.
anything to not face the truth. That's crazy. I've never heard of these terms.
People are creative.
Like that's what they're trying to change it to.
Yeah.
Delusional. That's what that is. That's genuinely delusional.
Oh my God. Oh my God. That's insane.
Welcome to America. The place
Yeah.
of
I've never heard that about
lime pillows and captive Africans.
Oh my God. What did you say? What was the first one? What was the first one?
Man, you don't know about the lime pillows?
Lime pillows.
We were, man, maybe we should do something tonight. We should do a giveaway. So what we did was we had people call in, and I would read from the DEA's published list of slang terms for narcotics. And for marijuana, they had like about 250 different terms. And
just for weed,
like out of the 250 terms, maybe 6 of them were accurate.
That's so funny.
Yeah.
Like Zuzu and lime pillows. And
I'm still looking for lime.
I'm
still looking for lime.
Anybody out there got
like
some
they
lime
had no
pillows?
fucking
I
idea
want
what they were
some lime
talking about.
pillows, yo.
I was on.
That blew my mind.
You would just come up with stupid terms and throw one in there, and if you could pick the fake one, you'd win some.
Yeah. Yeah. Let's start calling it something right now and just start it. Like it's now like Roger Rabbit. It's Roger Rabbit.
A new slang term for weed.
You're not in Kansas anymore.
Yeah.
Tell me
Not
that.
anymore? No, I don't know about that. That's what do you say, Roach?
Monday meds.
What?
What?
Monday meds. I don't know.
Monday meds. It's like
Yeah.
all the different ways. I
trying to-
really feel like you could say almost anything. You could text someone and say, "Hey, can you bring me a candy bar?" And somebody's gonna assume you mean weed. You know what I mean?
I would.
It's like,
You text
it's like
me.
if I say, "Hey, do you want to go play badminton later?" You'd be like, "She must mean smoke weed." Like
Literally.
just assume.
Because no one plays
assume.
bad. Yeah, that'd be weird.
I do. I do.
Nah, I still feel like
I just
that.
got
She
a
must be
badminton.
That's hilarious.
Okay, so it's a DEA intelligence report for slang terms and code words, a reference for law enforcement personnel. So if you're out there and, okay, for instance, if you hear somebody talking about Maybach or Mayo or movie star, they're talking about cocaine.
Okay.
All right. Hold on. Let me get to cannabis here. Okay, so for marijuana, they have drag weed, flower tops, fuzzy lady, laughing grass.
Oh my God.
Okay.
Give me that last grass.
Mexican brown, Red Cross, Santa Marta,
Santa
Tex-Mex, Gen Pop. Wait, I can't even say it.
Badminton, Roger Rabbit.
Roger Rabbit.
These all sound like things that a cop would ask somebody. Like, do you have any of that Roger Rabbit? I'm sorry.
Hey, any you guys want to get together tonight and do the Roger Rabbit?
Right.
Play some badminton. You know
Hey, I
what
just
I
got
mean.
some of that laughing grass.
You know what I mean.
Zip Zoom if you mix it with PCP.
Oh, what?
What's that
It's
noise?
called Zip Zoom. Zip Zoom. When you
Zip
mix
Zoom?
marijuana with PCP.
I heard that's called a wet one.
This is
Yeah,
a
I
real
heard it's called
premise.
a wet.
Like there's cops looking at this. Somebody got a test on this shit, I'm gonna imagine.
So
On the
I
conference
also,
stand, you're
just to be clear, Zip Zoom is also could be the answer to what is the sound that Wile E. Coyote makes.
That's 200 points.
The drug recognition experts in Michigan look for people with a green tongue to help identify if they've been using cannabis or not.
Oh yeah, I remember.
Keep on doing that. Keep on doing that. Keep on doing that.
Yeah, state police was doing that. What was that last year when that came out? I remember that.
He's licking buds. What
What were you doing? That's not how you trim. I promise you.
It's like I was having a lollipop. Wink. You know, a lollipop, officer.
Oh, they might think something else though. They're like, oh, I got a lollipop for you.
I got a lime popsicle.
Get you right out that ticket. Right.
I misread this. I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, like I swear, if I read 3 terms from any of these lists, nobody in here would be able to guess what fucking drug I was talking about. Guaranteed. Like,
all right,
that's
go.
what's so astounding by this. All right, okay, so you guys are from the hood. You know, you guys know what's up. Oh, here we go. Let's see.
You gotta say it without laughing.
That's what I'm saying. Thank you.
Straight face. Straight face.
You want to hear?
Okay. Applejack, French fries, Primo.
Wait, what was the last one?
This is just
What was the last
Primo.
one?
Primo.
And this is all the same drug, right? This is all the same drug.
Yeah,
that's heroin.
Primo is
It's heroin.
cannabis, right?
Do you know what's funny is they probably just listen in on a bunch of phone calls of high people talking, and they all of a sudden just start talking about food. So they're like, here are all the things that could mean weed. Order pizza. Like, make me some tacos. Do we have any cookies? Where's the Doritos? All that still means weed. It's on every phone call. They can't stop talking about food.
Yeah, no, and like that's the thing. I think it was like somebody got busted and be like, look, I'll make a deal with you.
If you hear them say the word Applejack, that's the code word.
Look, I'll make a deal. Let me go,
off,
and I'll tell you everything. I'll give you all the code. You'll know
all
everything.
the codes.
I got
The
all
Zip
the
Zams, the Applejacks, laughing grass.
Now I'm so afraid to order French
do
fries.
that.
Like,
I mean,
but stop.
Are you ever just ordering French fries?
Roach. But Roach, like, what drug was that? Please don't.
I didn't even know.
Like, what is that, a cigarette? Like,
It's all weed. It's all weed.
no.
Hold on.
Applejack, French fry.
Apple,
If they say turkey
Applejack,
sandwich,
French fries.
give me a turkey sandwich.
Here's I'll give you a few more. And like, what's funny is it's in alphabetical order. Like,
Sure.
it's so funny how they got
Sure.
this shit around. All right. So Applejack, French fries, Primo, Chingy, East Side Player.
Big Mac, fillet of fish, quarter pounder French fries, icy cold
East Side Player.
Sundays and apple pie.
That's two words, not even
Bro. Hey, let me get that East Side Player over here. Like, what?
That's not even a strain. Where did you get that?
Okay. I'll give you some more. Maybe this will narrow it down for you. Breakfast of Champions.
It's cocaine.
Yeah, it's cocaine.
It's cocaine.
Cocaine and Wheaties.
Double
Cocaine
yolk.
sprinkled on Wheaties.
Double yolk. Hamburger helper.
What?
That's a whole thing. Come on, man. Come on, y'all. I'm sorry.
Oh, fool, y'all tripping on that one.
I can't make this shit up. I can't make this shit up.
That's all I did.
So far,
Question,
none
you
of
were
them
close.
have been fake, right? None of them have been
No,
fake that
they're
you
all
said. Oh, okay.
legitimate. They're
Are they all the
Oh.
same drug?
Yeah, that was all the same drug.
Oh
Oh my god.
Where the drug in question was crack cocaine.
I knew it.
They got it.
Wow.
What does he say? Breakfast of Champions?
Yeah,
Point,
breakfast
Mike.
of champions.
Soon as
I'm
he
like,
said
Point.
breakfast with champions,
Cocaine.
Yeah.
It's cocaine.
Well, no, what got me was cinnamon, like, what was the cinnamon toast crunch? Is that he said? Apple Jacks. Yeah, Apple Jacks. I'm like, okay, Apple Jacks. There's like little sprinkles on that. I don't know.
Bro, like
Man,
they're
Breakfast of
insane.
Champions
They're
is
insane.
wild.
So like you
Correct.
could be literally talking about anything and they can claim that you were talking about.
That's what's really weird. You know what would be funny is if it was really true and like people would have codes for like high-end cereal, you know, super high-end cereal is really good cocaine. And then like
special
and then
K.
like really shitty
Special
cocaine.
K.
Really shitty cocaine is like flavor circles, you know, like just like bring me some flavor circles. Like shit weed. Yeah.
Captain Crunch will be, oh man.
Good. That'd be good shit.
Yeah.
Fucking crunch berries. Bring me some crunch berries, dude.
Shout out to Scal. He got some Rainforest Crunch. That sounds like a secret.
Man.
Wait, is he talking about weed or is he talking about ecstasy?
What would
Because-
super cookie crisp be? That shit was crazy. That was a bowl of cookies for breakfast.
That'd be
Somebody got away with pouring tiny cookies in a bowl and serving it to children.
that'd be some ozone
Years.
That'd be
Yeah,
some-
no, like it's absolutely ridiculous. There's no
Hey,
wonder
Roach,
that there's so
Roach,
much
look at
bullshit
that.
prostitution.
I was to say, Roach, when you look at that list, are most of those words slang? Like it's a slang list, so it's just everything that's used in the urban community, basically.
Bro, hey,
Not even, bro. Like
how many
Everywhere.
it's like
drugs were added?
okay, like if you're talking about Malcolm X, you're talking about ecstasy.
Right.
Okay.
Why?
Right. Okay. What?
Because the X.
Because of the X, obviously.
Oh, you know,
Tell him.
But what if I really wanted to have a conversation about Malcolm X? Right? No, I can't talk about Malcolm X. I'm talking about DEA.
Talk about anything,
Flagging my shit. What the? That's the most targeted urban word you could possibly. What the? Everyone and their mama know about Malcolm X, bro. That's fucked up.
You know, Facebook talk about Malcolm X. He's talking about heroin like we've never
everybody's
seen
red
before.
flag. No, that's
That's the only time you see C Murder talking about Malcolm X.
No, I mean,
Yo, I laughed so hard the camera fell. I laughed so hard the camera fell.
If you're talking about
So,
doctor, the word doctor, just doctor, is a drug term.
And really, any article like of or the or and, if you use any of those words, like any pronouns, you're definitely talking about weed.
I'm not even bullshitting you. West Coast turnarounds is a drug term for amphetamines.
That sounds right. That sounds right.
Really?
Hey,
You can't just turn around on the west side like
No.
Methamphetamine? Like that's a oh man. Oh no.
If you say white boys or white girls, it's a wrap. You already know.
It's a wrap. You're done for 10 to 15.
Oh, we know what you're talking about.
10
They've
to
got a
15
warrant.
immediately.
They've got
They
a
have
warrant.
It's done.
I just got a white boys over the radio here. We're gonna just go ahead and get that warrant.
Dog.
I repeat, somebody said white boy.
Fuck you.
We're going in. Somebody said white boy.
Wow.
No, like for real, this is my favorite list. They haven't printed a new one. I'm hoping they do soon.
After the riots and them getting this 14 days to do shit, think about, bro. I can't be on the phone. I can't be on the phone telling my girl what kind of cereal I want now. I'm scared. Okay, I'm fucking terrified. I'm fucking terrified.
You said Cinnamon Toast Crunch is on the list. No more Cinnamon Toast Crunch, love.
Like, bro, you just ruined breakfast for me for a minute.
Hey, do they got butter pecan in there?
Of course they do.
Oh my God, take it off the list. Take it off the shop list.
Like literally, it's a PDF. So whatever it is, I can search.
Oh, so you can search it.
Yeah.
If chicken nuggets ain't on that list,
search for butter pecan. I want to see if that's in there.
Of course it is.
Butter is.
Well,
butter?
Of course.
Butter. You know, like
butter. Done. You can't
Am
bake
I saying
anything.
it fucked up? I don't know. Butter pecan.
Switch to margarine from now on.
You gotta get some margarine. I can't.
I'm sorry.
Don't
Hey,
say the last
we're gonna go ahead and bust in. Cool. Hey, listen, we're gonna go ahead and bust in a store. I just heard a butter. I just got a butter and a white girl. We're going in.
Oh my God, he said I can't believe it's not butter. That's because it's cocaine.
No, actually, butter is slang for fentanyl, and fentanyl.
Oh my God!
Oh, you
That's
fucked up.
worse. That's so much worse.
Man,
We're all going.
Butter's really off the list.
We're all going down.
Yeah, no, okay. Like anything, literally anything you say is a drug term.
Sorry. I scratched that. It was Smart Balance. It was Smart Balance. Everybody back in the car. It wasn't butter. It was Smart Balance. Everybody. Sorry, nobody got the Smart Balance joke. It's a butter substitute. I was trying to talk to code.
Can't believe it's
Okay. If you say ultimate, up, Uzi, wave, white ball, white ghost, white sugar, white tornado, wrecking crew, Yahoo, or Yale, it's crack.
Yeah.
So we be talking about college.
Yeah. That's great. I thought we were talking about college.
I think
Black people aren't talking about college. They're talking about.
Talking about the. About
I thought it was Ivy Leagues.
What do they call weed, bro? How about weed?
What about
fucking Medical Mondays? You know, we're smoking fucking weed.
Bro, the weed ones are ridiculous. The weed ones are ridiculous. Okay, hold on. If you say churro, big pillows,
big pillows,
Barbara Jean.
Big pillows.
I've actually used the term pillows for weed.
Look,
so I can't even say
this is a big pillow.
It's crazy. I mean, but the weed came like a pillow.
Got those pounds.
That was like slang for booze.
Pillow pounds.
Angola, Dinky Dow.
Who says
what?
this?
That one's not a word. What?
I say Dinky Dow all the time.
Okay, look, I'm gonna go through and read the ones that just don't even make sense. All right. Dimba, Dinky Dow, Gloria, Mercedes Benz.
Can't talk about your granny or your car.
Granny or your car.
Indian Hay, Lucas, MJ, Mary Ann, Method, Mersh, Meg,
Ginger,
Matchbox, Mowing the Lawn.
Oh, come on.
I'm screwed then.
Washing the dishes.
Y'all trying to
No, it's a smoke out term. They're like, oh yeah, I was just smoking. I was just mowing the lawn.
Mowing the lawn with some homies.
See if doing the dishes on there, like any household activity. I was just, washing some clothes. They're like, go in, white girl washing some clothes.
White girl washing some clothes.
Yeah, it's in the period.
Bazooka, burritos verde, Chicago black,
so
dry high, Gorilla Giggles.
What?
I want some Gorilla Giggles. That sounds fire. That sounds fire as shit.
KGB, Lechuga, Mora, Oh Boy, OJ,
Oh boy.
Queen Anne's Lace, Sativa, Sassafras.
Sassafras.
Smoochie.
It looks like Jamie joined Luxurious Green at the fucking fire, man. What's going on?
They're together.
Oh, that's bad.
Oh, totally different fire. All right, man.
Somebody watched Clerks because they got Smoochy Woochie on here.
Oh yeah.
Young girls, and there's a lot of Spanish words on here.
I was gonna ask about that. So like,
yeah, it's
I can't. Why it's super racist. Like the list itself is mad racist, bro.
Oh, sure.
Like
Sure.
churro.
Burrito?
No, stop. Churro burrito. Like
that man's what
Like queso.
We've rolled plenty of burritos on Metal.
Can you check? Listen, hey, can you check the list just to make sure it's racist? Can you check the list and see if hot dish or 7-layer salads on there?
That would be intense.
That would be.
That would be intense.
Because if it's not.
I think hot dish would be the hot dish. Sounds like some drugs.
Man,
honestly, hey, I need that hot dish. I need that hot dish coming in. It's coming in hot. It's coming in hot. 15 minutes out.
This is
Hot dough, hot ice,
Nope.
Hot dough and hot what?
hot cakes.
Ooh, close.
What about broccoli
what you call
casserole?
booty?
Is broccoli casserole on there?
That sounds nasty.
Hey, I've probably broccoli before.
I have
Yeah,
also probably
broccoli's there for sure.
Of course. See, really?
That's a song. That's whatever.
Yeah. Yeah.
E40 got the song.
Yeah, everybody's recalling broccoli. I'm sure Cheech and Chong cornered that one a long time ago.
You feel me?
Oh yeah, I'm sure.
Yeah, no, like basically any term in English or Spanish is a term.
Basically,
Stop talking on
English or Spanish, it's a rap, bro. You're
Yeah, it's just a trap out there.
But bro,
Everybody has
They have
drugs.
a little small list just for marijuana concentrates and hash oil. I think I
Ooh.
can run through it pretty quick.
Let's do this. Yeah.
So we got 710, BHNO, BHO, Black Glass. That's that booth. I've seen that black.
Some nasty
That's that
companies
whack
out
shit.
there call it food grade.
Bubble hash butter, butane hash oil, butane honey oil, caviar, CBD oil, crystalline,
What?
crumble, dabs, dipper, earwax,
I'm sorry.
pebbles, e-nail, Earl, E-R-R-R-R-R,
Ain't call you granddaddy either. Gloria and Earl out.
extract, full melt, glob, gorilla glue, petty, honey oil, ice water hash, clear, live resin, moon rocks, rosin, Rosin Tech, SAP, Sauce Shatter Solventless, Terp Sauce, THCA, THCA Crystal, THCA Crystalline, THCA Powder, Trichome, and Wax. And
that's so closer. That's so closer to
Don't
that.
give them any new ones.
Right, I was about to say, they skipped a bit of that alphabet and we need to fuck it up now. Way too much.
I want to say this list is from 2018, so they compiled it in 16 and 17, I'm gonna guess. Yeah.
See, even with that list in itself, like,
wait a second, how did you get both lists at the same time?
What do you mean?
Like, how did you get this list about 90% correct, and then the other one just has words like Apple Jacks in it?
Oh yeah, that's true.
Right.
Yeah, that's true. That's fucked.
What happened?
I don't know, man.
You know what? I would really like to. I feel like that's worth, like, it would be a really funny movie. Like, basically just a bunch of dudes in the police academy that they lost the list. Do you know what I mean? They were supposed to teach class that day, and they lost the list. And so they just sat down and like wrote every single thing they could think of.
That would be amazing.
Taught it to someone. That would be really funny.
No, didn't teach it to someone. Like, they pitched it on the panel to the whole board.
Oh yeah,
all
oh yeah.
the cops.
That's what I'm saying.
And that's why all the cops are running around
Exactly.
fucking up everyone. Oh my god!
Yeah.
We cracked the code. Holy shit!
That's it.
There was one dumbass who lost the list.
He's really sorry. He's really sorry.
I mean, he fucked up everyone's community. So yeah, I hope he's sorry.
He's super sorry.
There is one term for weed that they did get right. Back me up if I'm wrong here, Jamie, but it's jazz cabbage.
Oh yeah.
Boom!
I do love me some jazz cabbage.
Happening tomorrow and every Tuesday.
Every Tuesday, 4 to 6. We're gonna be back on the Cave Radio platform before too long in some way. We haven't been totally worked out yet, but we're taking that was a studio where we were broadcasting, and that closed down during the pandemic's going to open back up again, and we'll get back on it. But tomorrow I'm going to be broadcasting from the Botanical Company in East Tawas.
Oh yay!
Cool. Are you up north right now?
No, I'm leaving tomorrow morning.
Safe travels.
So yeah, when is the Reads and Weeds going on?
Tomorrow we're doing this book, Screaming Beauty by Scott Mooney. It's a follow-up to another book that we did of his already. It's like a new adult fantasy fiction. Really fun. There'll be 4 of us on there. The author will be on there. That's cool. And then after that, I'm trying to get Ryan Basor back on and Chef Gigi. Do y'all know Chef Gigi?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. She won the High Times stuff.
Yeah, she did. I've been to a meal of hers, and I've been trying to get her on, and she wants to read this book.
Ryan will be popping on
that I think is pretty
tomorrow.
heavy. Yeah.
Yeah, she's awesome.
Yeah, she was really cool. Love her. So yeah, and y'all get in touch with me at, Facebook me or text me or whatever.
I'll get one of my accounts that I'll get it you one of my accounts that isn't in Facebook jail.
Okay. Do that.
Dude, that shit sucks. It's so annoying. And that's,
Hold
literally,
on,
that's,
I'll put my
that's what
stuff
our
in here.
platform's for. I swear. That's what Mary Documentary's for.
I'm
sick of that
I got
shit.
30 days. I got 30 days for saying white people. White PPPO. That's how I said it. White people. I got 30 days. I'm in jail.
That's right.
Wait a minute. That's all you said? What?
Yep.
I don't
These are different
understand.
times.
Like regularly though. Like,
That's me.
Well, it wasn't my
I'm putting
first.
my-
It wasn't my first offense.
but that white before.
I've said plenty of fucked up shit before that, but
I got put in Facebook jail.
white people. I'm white.
He's all Apple Jacks this and Apple Jacks that.
And the white boy, like white people, white people, right?
White people,
That's
white
plural.
girl, casserole.
He's moving bricks. That's plural.
I put my contact info in the chat.
I saw that. That's
Where
what that
can
little
they
thing that came
listen
up. That's
to
cool.
Reeds and Weeds at?
Reeds and Weeds. Reeds and Weeds, if you look for it, it's everywhere. It's on Stitcher and, SoundCloud and iTunes and iHeartRadio and Facebook and Instagram and Reeds and Weeds.
Reeds and
Pretty
Weeds.
easy to find. Reeds and Weeds.
Reeds
Yeah.
and Weeds. Yo, can we make a jingle for you?
I would really, people keep saying like, I'm going to make a jingle. And on one of the shows, we tried to make up 2 jingles and they sound pretty good. And one was just a bunch of like discordant voices going like, Reeds and Weeds, like recorded over each other. Like, Reeds and Weeds, we like mash them all together.
Right.
That one was pretty creepy. And then another one was like a sponsor ask. It's like my friend Jesse playing the piano. It's like a little boogie woogie, and we're all going, I need a sponsor. Give me a sponsor. We need some money. Like we made up a little like, please sponsor us jingle.
You know what?
Nice.
I'm gonna chop this.
Nice.
I'm gonna chop this part of the show up and use your voice, and we're gonna. Use that.
That's what I'm saying, bro. We need to get on that.
Yeah,
That's awesome.
Let's do it. We're doing it. We're doing it. I'm up for any projects. But don't say projects, because when you say projects, they'll know you're talking about weed. Projects. Talking about
She
weed.
said the magic word. Run in.
You know the feds on this phone call right now.
I heard a white
Oh,
girl
yeah.
say casserole
Oh, yeah.
and projects. She'd go in.
Read the list.
Right, we just read the list. He's like, they're onto us.
They are hitting the beat a roll. What's going on?
We just had 4 people say every word we've ever heard. We gotta get in there.
I watched
Major deal going down on YouTube.
Shit.
This shit must be huge.
Everybody's FBI agent is losing their shit right now.
Oh my God.
We gotta contain this.
Dog, that's so funny.
Notifications are blowing up.
We've jammed the circuits with all the words.
Yeah, they're like everybody's listening. They're like that thing on Snapchat where you see everybody on the map. We're all pinging right now. Just red as fuck because all the words have been just pinging. Hey, this cell phone, yo, they're over there. No, they're over here. Like,
Yeah.
Jesus Christ.
Shit, man, we're fucking up.
Man.
Oh,
When are
that
you
was-
guys going back to doing the Medical Mondays at the Rough?
Man, soon. I wanted to do it today.
That's what I asked.
You
I was
know.
like, yo, where are we doing? Where are we going? But Zoom is cool as fuck, though. It's how we're connecting with all our clients and people. Like, Zoom is really cool, but I like sessions. I need to sesh. I need to meet with people.
Yeah.
I think even after we, go back to the studio, we'll still be using Zoom in one way, shape, or form. Like use with people who are places and like we've been doing, this
Live streaming events is huge. Live streaming events, and actually, like, that's something that's just woken up out of the pandemic. There's so many new streaming apps that are trying to bring events to everywhere. And
Yeah,
like, if
I've
we're
used
gonna connect,
StreamYard.
that'd be cool.
I've loved StreamYard, and I've done a couple shows with StreamYard, but it doesn't have as much recording time per month as Zoom does. So the good thing is you can stream to multiple platforms at once and make like your, you have your background and your branding and all that is on
Right.
already like programmed into your screen. but it's really cool. So you can be on like LinkedIn, YouTube, whatever, and then it saves there. But like if you're trying to pull audio to just have an audio podcast, it's a little bit harder to do because that you can only save so much per month. That's
Gotcha.
my review. Other than that, it's awesome.
All right. Fair enough.
Oh shit, man. Is that fucking
did you talk about Juneteenth?
Where the fuck's my marshmallow, dog?
You should know that, man.
We're going in. He just said marshmallow dog. Get in there.
We're going in. We're
going in. He said marshmallow dog. Like, that's it.
Man.
If anything has ever meant weed, it's marshmallow dog.
Hey man, I'm gonna sign off. You guys had a great time as usual. Hope if you guys show up tomorrow, feel free.
Yeah.
I'll throw the link out. All right, have a good night, everybody.
Good night.
Jamie.
Have a good one,
And,
Joe.
chances are, if anybody tunes into Jazz Cabbage Cafe tomorrow, you're probably gonna see me and Berg on there.
What?
Awesome.
Holy
Good shit. That's crazy.
So, yeah.
How can you do that? It's magic.
There might be a chance that you see Shelly on there too.
How
can't do it
about C
tomorrow.
Murder? Is he gonna be there?
C Murder won't be there, but Colin will.
Man has multiple hats.
Funny.
I'm scared of C Murder. I'm scared of C Murder. If you can use your identities like that, it's over.
Exactly.
Tomorrow, C Murder.
He looks really different when he's regular too. Like you can tell right
yeah.
now.
Looks
Right
totally
now he's
different.
C Murder. Right now he's C Murder. You can feel it. But tomorrow he'll just be Colin. He'll be a lot less scary, threatening.
Who the hell is Colin?
Who the hell is Colin?
Who the fuck is that Colin? Colin.
That would be another fun movie to film. Colin, we need to do like a like C Murder's like your superhero that you change into,
Yeah,
And
that I'm
go-
like.
Yeah, but you don't change anything. But like you just
His superhero outfit
He just
looks
adds
like
a blunt.
right. He just adds a blunt. And everybody calls him something different, and he just fights crime. Yeah, that's what. Yeah, great.
I don't know if you know this, but C Murder single-handedly stopped the robbery of a dispensary.
Oh, I know.
Like-
oh,
like
I know this story. I got it.
You
She
already
knows.
Uh-huh.
He doesn't have to change anything. He's always in superhero mode.
That's true, but that would be what would be funny is instead of like being like a mild-mannered businessman who goes into a telephone booth and comes out with a cape, he's just Colin,
Dispensary
and then he
worker.
goes over there. And then he's just C Murder. That's it.
Who does something crazy and then just walks around and has to fight crime all the time.
Yeah.
Like my life,
Just
Just like your regular life.
Days.
Oh, Medical Mondays.
The fuck up.
And we would when he came in the room, everybody would be totally scared.
Yeah.
Be like, oh shit, it's C Murder.
Well, that's what happens when I slam the Russell door open on Monday nights. So
Yep.
We'll
I just
tell
do it
everybody.
with
We'll tell
my
everybody
knock.
C Murder's on his
I
way.
just have this knockabout. Like when I hit the door, it just the whole building shakes.
Yeah. Oh, yeah,
The
it
whole
does.
building shakes. That's awesome.
Yeah. For sure, it's scary. Oh, okay. I'm out too, y'all. It was so great being on here.
Bye,
Everybody
Shelly.
keep in touch
We'll be
with
in
me.
contact.
Let's do song lyrics soon. Yay.
Yep.
Let's
Yeah,
write some
yeah.
stories about C Murder soon.
Come in the
What?
studio and sesh
Write
with
some
us.
stories.
I can't understand what you're saying, but I'm gonna.
So
sign
we
off.
got to write some stories or do something on Reason Weed soon.
Oh yeah, yeah. We'll write it. I'll write a terrible story and we'll read it with no edits. Okay. Great
Oh,
job.
shit.
Great job. Okay.
Bye.
Hey, Roach, you want to give a shout out to all the motherfucking dope ass motherfucking sponsors that we got?
Hell yeah, man. Shout out to Treetop Labs, Honeybee Extractions. Are you gonna throw it up for the people, man?
I am, man. It's right there, motherfucker.
Ooh, Native Made 313, Ghostbuster Farms, Western Tobacco, Michigan Ganja Queen, Valhalla Labs, Ipsy Oil Supply, Michigan Turp Farms, and Label My Motherfucking Butt.
Boom.
I've had half of this list and they are fire.
For sure, for sure. Good. All right, y'all. Well, tune in next week. Well, I'm sure we'll have a dope ass guest on next week. So yeah, and tune in to Jazz Cabbage Cafe. Follow everybody. Shout out to Justin Touch and Mike Fay for joining us.
Thanks for having us, man. Really appreciate you guys.
Well, shout out to your
man. Go fuck with Mike Fay, everybody, and get behind the Juneteenth initiative.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, inquire with Mike
Sorry
Fay.
to talk about that very much, but you know, me and you, Rush, we gonna talk about it when we get a chance.
See, Murder, we need your involvement in something.
Facts.
All right? We need you to be an ally and spread the word in Ann Arbor about Mike Fay, but more about what he's talking about, this Juneteenth thing.
Okay.
I don't know if you're familiar or not, but
It's in
y'all
Ann
need to
Arbor.
work with each other.
And if you connect with me, we have a newsletter, so we're collecting emails and we will send out all the information. We're the Enlightenment Coalition. We're trying to change things. You feel me?
But Juneteenth is one of the first steps. You said.
Juneteenth is the first step. We believe that Juneteenth should be a national holiday. We all need to give it the same weight as an MLK or as the 4th of July, because it's more than just about Black people being free. It's also about the allies that it took for all of us to get to that step, and that it's a big step for the human race. So let's treat it like that.
Yeah.
And I think it beautifully illustrates the lie that America has told its people. So,
yeah, we're not separated, we together.
So if y'all don't know about Juneteenth, go look that up, Google it, elevate your minds, smoke some good weed, and fuck with us next week.
Boom.
You got anything to say, Berg?
I'm high as shit.
Yo, we appreciate you guys. Thanks, Berg. Thanks, Roach.
Yeah,
see you guys
thanks
next time.
Thanks to everybody that was on the show.
Stay tuned to IG. Me and Roach will be doing some giveaways during the week, I'm sure. Maybe even doing a fucking duck race if people tune in.
I mean, really low key, man. I wanted to give some shit away right now, man. Is there people in the YouTube chat?
Yes, I have some friends in the YouTube chat.
I'm gonna sign off, you guys. I'll see you.
All right, man.
Later, C Murder.
All right, man.
Murder.
I don't know, man. Maybe we should go live, man. Let's do a giveaway.
All right, man, for sure. So yeah, everybody tune in. Fucking go. We're about to go live on IG, I guess. So
yeah.
All right.
Tune
See y'all
in
there.
on Mondays.
Oh yeah, I'll be in that live
on IG. All right, y'all.
Right, Superstone. Look at it.